So I could install it from the Microsoft Store, but I'm going to actually do it from the command prompt. So let me run the command prompt here. Don't have to run it as administrator, just as your normal user. And one thing that's probably good to do, which helps with future troubleshooting, is to determine what version of WSL, again, WSL stands for Windows Subsystem for Linux, and you should see that it is version 2 dot something. If you're using Windows 11, I can only assume that you'll automatically end up with version 2. If you have an older version of Windows, it may be version 1, and you're going to run into issues if you're using that outdated version. So just confirming that. Then I will go ahead and install Ubuntu this way. Hit enter. Oops, I got a typo in there. So I'll just come back here. WSL. There we go. It'll spin its wheels for a few moments. And after it's done, it will ask me for a username. I'm going to use the same one I have for my email and portal and so forth. Password, you're the only human being who will be entering this password, so I'm going to just use letter A, something simple. It won't be difficult to type and easy to remember. And after it finishes installing here initially, it's going to throw me right into Linux. As soon as you're done, so this is in general, not just for this particular point in time, when you're done being in Linux, you can just type exit and hit enter, and you will be outside of it. For me to run it, I could type Ubuntu here and run it from this menu, and it'll bring up this window. The font here is a little bit small, so I'm actually going to go back. I'll type exit here, and I'll stick with this window just simply because the larger font is easier on the eyes. So I'll type Ubuntu here from this command prompt. Should get the exact same thing. We end up in Linux. We'll be talking about commands, but print working directory tells you where you currently are. One of the things that I encouraged in class was to get this location that I'm currently in into your file explorer. And the technique for doing that, you type cd and hit enter. It's a little bit gratuitous at this point. That will make sure you are in your home directory. And what I'm going to do is run the file explorer application, and I'm going to say that I want it to open up the parent directory. If I'm in the parent, then I can see the directory that I'm currently in. This should become clear in just a moment as soon as I hit enter. And we see that is my home directory. So when I opened up the parent, I saw where I was. And what I want to do here is I want to right click on this, and I want to pin it to quick access, so that now anytime I open up a file explorer, if I need to get at any of the files that I'm using in this course, I can simply get to it through this link. And just to demonstrate that very quickly, I'll go ahead and create a program. Let's see, I guess I can say cout, hi there. Alright, pretty basic program. I don't like the aggressive tabbing there, so I'll do that. Right quit, and again I am in my home directory, and if I do an ls, we can see there's the program I just wrote. I can go ahead and compile it. It's nice to get in the habit of using a more recent standard. And then the name of the program, there it is, hit enter. And sometimes you'll enter a command and you'll see this information. That's just simply because you're getting a bare bones distribution here of Linux, and a lot of the tools you need to manually install yourself. And it helpfully tells you what the command would be. So I say sudo apt install g++. It's going to ask me for my password, which again is that letter A that I typed when I created the account. It shows me everything that it's going to install, and now I just have to be patient for that to finish up. All right, so there's certainly a possibility that you'll get this, and what's happened is that we have installed a relatively outdated version of Ubuntu, and so when we try to retrieve packages to install, we've got outdated information on where to find that, and so it wasn't successful. So what you would do in this case, and in fact perhaps I should have done this right out of the blocks before attempting to install anything new, so I can say sudo apt update. That will update where it looks for things. Okay, so now all of the information as to where it gets updated packages has now been set into the database here. What we will go ahead and do is we will now update everything that is currently on our system that is out of date. Again, this is something you should only need to do once, right at the outset when you create Ubuntu and get your user account on it. So I'll go ahead and upgrade and wait. Oops. Excuse me, forgot sudo apt upgrade. There we go. It'll ask me to confirm. Now I just have to be patient. All right. Now finally I can go back to the command that I'd done originally. And this should work fine now that I've got my system up to date here. All right, now I did want to compile that program. Let's give it a go, and now we're successful. I do an ls, we can see that there is my executable that it created. I can run it. No big deal. There's the source code to it, and I'm doing all this in my home directory. Probably I would have been better off if I'd created a CSCI 211 folder and maybe a labs folder and so forth, and keep things organized. There's a nice command history which goes over all the commands that I have done so far. So let's take a quick look at that and review the commands that we need once we get going here in Linux. So to start with, the fourth command that I entered, this is going to open up a File Explorer window. In the parent directory, we use that to pin to quick access our home directory where all our work's going to be occurring. And then I would say 10 and 12. Sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade. Your system will be all up to date. You don't have to do those any longer, just the first time out. And then we can go ahead and install tools as we run them and find that they aren't installed. For instance, another one that I like is tree, and that isn't installed. So I'll say sudo apt install tree. Note that we got the helpful hint here on how to do that. And it installs, and now I've got that nice program as well. This idea will probably repeat throughout the semester as you do a command that isn't installed in your Linux by default. Getting back to the File Explorer, so if I come back here, and this is my home directory, again I pinned that here to quick access. If I look in that folder, we see a bunch of files that we don't normally see. That is because any file that begins with a period is normally hidden from us, not because it's a secret file, but simply because they generally contain configuration information, and it's a bit of an eyesore to have to see them all the time, so they do not show by default when I do a listing in a directory. If I add the A option, that means see all files, including the ones that begin with a period, and you'll see that they are all in fact there. But A.out and hello are the two that I had been working on, and we can see them right here, A.out and hello.cpp.